You're going to experience a whole different value of a penny this morning. So this month we're looking at self-care. And thank you, Reverend Jenna, for your message last week and for giving me the day off so I could go celebrate our 17th anniversary with Deborah. I'm still amazed I've done anything for 17 years. So we looked at the evolution of self-care. And this morning we're looking at balancing grief and joy. Next week we're going to look at pleasure, which on a twisted note for Father's Day, I'm just saying that's how fathers become fathers. It might have something to do with pleasure. Possibly. So let's just get that out of the way. And then we're going to wrap up with personalizing the infinite. And so this morning, I want to really look at what self-care actually is. And I don't typically have notes, but this morning I have this, what for some of you may be a bizarre talk map, but it makes sense to my brain. So self-care, really, if we look at it as a daily practice of spirituality, that we don't really have two selves, although we experience two selves, right? We're all 100% spirit, and yet maybe you're different than me. I kind of experience being a human being every once in a while. Anybody else? Right? And so it can show up as two different selves, right? And so I invite you to, at least for the next 15 minutes, just entertain the idea that perhaps there's only one self. Okay? Grief. We have been taught that it's a bad thing, that it's a necessary thing, that we're supposed to have it for a little while, that we get permission to have it for a little while, but then we get all these really weird, convoluted messages about what it's supposed to be. And I appreciate the study that we do in psychology, and then I get mystified at what we do with some of that stuff because we turn them into rules, and that's not what's been presented. Grief does have stages. They don't come in order. They're not time limited. And grief is not just about the catastrophic things that we lose, right? I've got some surprises for you later in the service, right? Anyone who has ever gotten married, right? It's an amazing thing. And at the same time, we get to grieve being single. Right? But most of us don't know that. And so we have this amazing wedding ceremony and we have this amazing honeymoon. And then all of a sudden, things start shifting and we're like, what happened? What happened is we have unresolved grief about how life was. And for many of us, we have some, oh good Lord, with experiencing what life is. Because we can imagine it, but there's some things in marriage we don't see coming. Right? It's just how it goes. Right? So even in celebration, there is an aspect of grief. Can we just normalize this stuff? Will we? We can. It's more will we. Joy. If you go to the Bible, joy is about rejoicing. Check this definition out. A feeling of inner gladness, delight, and joy and rejoicing that comes from the choice to trust the promises of God. Right? Little different than happiness. that we're taught. And if anybody tells you money cannot buy happiness, they've never bought a pizza. I'm just saying. Okay? Money can buy me happiness, and my happiness lasts as long as my pizza lasts. Money can buy happiness. It can't buy joy. Joy is an activation of our spiritual essence. And it's an amazing thing when we allow it. So here's the thing. Symbology is important. Symbols help us anchor spiritual principles in a different way in this physical realm. So you each have a penny. And this penny is going to be a symbol for you of how to balance grief and joy. The word balance, I love words. I love digging into where they come from, if you haven't noticed that. So balance literally comes from the late Latin word bilanx. And it comes from joining two words, bi meaning two, and lanx meaning scale pan. And so balance, the origin of the word literally means two scale pans, which became the symbol for Libra. Right? So if we look at balance as that symbol, right, keep that in mind. Two sides. Right? You have a penny. On one side, there is Abraham Lincoln. Depending on which year that penny was printed, on the other side you have any different things that we refer to as tails. Right? It's easy to figure out why we refer to Lincoln as heads, because there's a head. I'm not sure why we do tails other than we have a head and a tail. Right? It's one penny, two sides. Where does heads end and tails begin? In your penny? Can you look at it and tell? No. It's made of one substance, copper. We are made of one substance. Right? Two aspects, two sides. Undifferentiatable. We don't know where our spiritual stops and our human starts. We're just like this penny in many respects. Now, the penny, if you look at everybody else's penny under a microscope, they're all different, even though they're all pennies. Right? We're all human beings, and yet we're all different. Each penny will have distinctive markings on it because of the journey it's traveled. You have distinctive markings called your personality, called your experience, that only come from your unique journey of spirituality. And yet, despite all of those marks, it's still one penny. Right? The experiences don't separate heads from tails. All of the scars on your penny don't create division within the penny. It's a circle. Right? Let the circle remind you of eternality. Right? Eternality without beginning, without end, and uninterrupted. That circle is uninterrupted. We can't tell where it starts, where it stops. There's no break in it. Even if there happens to be a dent in the side of the coin, it still continues. It's just dented, but it hasn't broken the circle. Okay? Our challenge isn't balancing grief and joy. Our challenge is letting go of duality. Our challenge is letting go of the lie of separation. And isn't that the challenge with everything? Right? Enlightenment is profoundly destructive if we actually understand how enlightenment works. All right? We are deconstructing conditioned thinking. Right? Oh! Right? We have spent the entirety of humanity constructing separation. And then conditioning one another to believe it. And then, God forbid, you step out of the conditioning, we push really hard to get each other back in there because we don't know what to do when it's not normal. There's nothing normal about conditioned thinking. You have no human nature. Can we just stop saying, that's my human nature? There's no such thing. Your nature as a human is divinity. This penny has one nature, copper. The head side doesn't have a different nature than the tail side. Right? You don't have a different nature than your divinity. You have conditioning that fools you into thinking you're separate. And so the journey is to deconstruct the conditioning, to take it apart. Remember, eternality. All right? Eternality, what is it? Without beginning, without end, and uninterrupted. You can't eliminate a thought of divinity. Because if we do, there's an ending. And it ceases to be eternal. Right? We focus on what we want instead of what we don't want. It doesn't mean we don't see what we don't want. Right? Facebook is such a spiritual journey if you allow it to be. I'm reading somebody's post this morning that is this long rant about the cost of underwear that was advertised on their page. And it goes through all of this rhetoric about how awful it is to charge this much for underwear and blah, 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 all the way down to the bottom of the post where it says, and you don't even make them in my size. So you spent 20 minutes railing about something you can't even have? But isn't that what we do? Right? We're so stuck in not remembering that it's only one penny. There's only one substance. There's only one source. There is no separation. And all we have to do is stop empowering separation. Which side is the good side? Which side is the bad side of your penny? You may as well go ahead and decide now, so when you want to be mad at your penny, you'll know which side to be mad at. It's ridiculous, right? But isn't that what we do in this human realm? We decided grief was bad and joy is good. We decided some feelings are good and some feelings are bad. So we avoid the bad feelings without the slightest recognition of the necessity of them. Grief is normal. It is part of our human journey. And right now, the whole of humanity is suffering greatly from protracted, complex grief that we refuse to feel. And it's showing up as violence. It's showing up as increased illness. Grief biologically impacts your physical being. It raises your blood pressure. It lowers your immunity system. It creates depression. We've seen a huge rise in domestic violence and substance abuse. All because we don't know how to feel what we feel. All because we vilified grieving. How would it change if you just leaned into it? One of my favorite writings. I love me some Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. And the church said, huh? Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. There is no separation. There is nothing, there is no thing to vilify. In one, there can't be right and wrong. That requires two. There just is. And got a surprise for us this morning in terms of symbols and rituals. Because we have an opportunity. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm a little bit emotional kind of guy. This is tender in a beautiful, beautiful way. We have an opportunity as a community to welcome a new life into our community. To take a commitment on how we are going to participate with that new life. So I'm going to ask Peter and Christine and the whole family to join me up here with Miss Athena. Ritual is so important. So important. I don't think we do enough of it in Science of Mind. So I have a campaign to change that. Yeah. Hello, beautiful. So this is Athena. You want to tell everybody who you are?
What's your name, bud?
That's your belly. What's your name?
Elijah.
Huh? Say again?
Tell me your name, bud. Sound Elijah.
Elijah.
Elijah, okay. So we have Elijah and Athena. And Elijah's going to roam around because he has legs and he can. And someday soon, you too will be off to the races, little one. So, it is my joy to do a baby blessing and a parent blessing. So, I'm going to ask everybody to go within and really focus all of your attention and energy right here. Christine and Peter, you are a part of Columbia Center for Spiritual Living's family. We promise our love, our support, and our experience as you start this journey of parents to Athena and continue it parenting Elijah. And if you're in agreement with that promise, I invite you to say, I do. Beloved Athena. What a cutie, oh my God. Today, we promise to always be your family. And if you're in agreement,
I do.
We promise to carry you through these early years and to support you always.
I do.
You learn so fast. We promise to remember that you are an intentional, purposeful, one-of-a-kind, never-to-be-repeated idea in the mind of creation. That life is expanding its experience of itself as you.
I do.
We promise to remind you of this frequently. We promise to do all we can to keep you safe in this physical realm and to give you every opportunity to become your most true self.
I do.
We promise to teach you how to think and to grow with you as we learn to listen to what you think with open hearts and minds. We love you completely, and we are excited to get to know you. So I'm going to ask us all to go into prayer. And so what I know is that life is always unfolding itself as itself. That there is one, that we are it, that it has birthed itself anew through the vessel of Christine in the form of Athena, that all is divinity, that all is creator expanding itself as each individualized expression of it, as the experiences that they will share, as the experience that we have just shared, coming together in spiritual commitment and spiritual community to hold this little one in love, in the perfection of her being, and to be those safe spaces where she can return over and over again to remember the truth of her being. To support Peter and Christine as they find new aspects of themselves, parenting this beloved expression of divinity. I stand in a recognition that we are all changed by this process, gloriously changed, and we can never be the same again. Hallelujah. I release all human idea of separation to the divine to be transformed, so that every time I look at Athena, I know I am looking at divinity. Grateful that this is how it works, and that it works every single time. And so I release, I let go, and I invite you to join me as we anchor together by saying, and so it is. Thank you.